Hi, Georg here. Welcome back. This is video number 4 in the video response series on Atlassian's Agile Coach series on Scrum, covering the Scrum Artifacts. Let's check it out.
Throughout the process, your team will collect artifacts. That's the topic of today's episode. Artifacts is something you make, like a tool to solve a problem. In Scrum, the 3 main artifacts are the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment with your definition of done. They're the 3 constants that you'll continue to revisit and invest in over time. Hello, Megan Cook here, Group Product Manager for Jira Software at Atlassian, the makers of Jira and other collaboration tools. In this series, we've been discussing the practices and the people needed to use Scrum. We talk about how Scrum works and the ceremonies your team will go through, as well as the roles each person will play in the process. First, you have your product backlog, that master to-do list of user stories, features, requirements, enhancements, and fixes.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the other video, a to-do list suggests that you really should do all of the items. It is a running list of options that you have rather than obligations. Just a reminder.
The product owner maintains this and uses it to plan your sprint backlog, which is the list of items of user stories that the development team is working on in the current sprint.
That sounds a little misleading to me. So the product owner is definitely responsible for the product backlog. However, is very much in a position to delegate and collaborate to and with the development team on the refinement of the product backlog as much as possible. In fact, that is strongly encouraged for creating a shared product understanding. And the sprint backlog is not created by the product owner. It is more created by the product owner setting a sprint goal in sprint planning that the development team is aware of, and the development team then pulling items, ready items from the top of the product backlog into what then becomes the sprint backlog.
To complete the increment, which is also known as the sprint goal, this is the
yes and no. The sprint goal should be an outcome that we want to see achieved, and then the potentially shippable product increment is what is created in order to fulfill that outcome. So if you will, the sprint goal is more an outcome and the increment is more an output.
the third Scrum artifact. The increment is the usable end product from a sprint. At Atlassian, we usually show off the increment during the end of sprint demo, where the team shares what was completed in the sprint. Some teams consider the increment to be whatever their definition of done is, a milestone, a sprint goal, or the full version of shippable product, regardless of whether or not it's actually shipped.
A couple more clarifications here. So the definition of done is an agreement in Scrum between the product owner and the development team about the level of fidelity and quality that each individual product backlog item is being developed towards and has to be met for it to be acceptable by the product owner. And the supersets, the collection of the product backlog items that are created in the sprint would make the potentially shippable product increment. Again, also nowadays, we can actually release any time we want, thanks to continuous integration and development, should your internal IT landscape allow that. If not, it's a great idea to work towards that. And so the definition of done does not apply to the whole potentially shippable product increment, but to each individual product backlog item.
Every team has a different definition of done though, so make sure to work with your team to clarify yours.
Yeah, and also remember that it's a living document. It is a great idea to review it over time, ensure that it is fit to where your product is in the product backlog lifecycle. I've actually got at least one video concerning that in the Power of 3 series to help you practice strong Scrum.
And speaking of done, you're done with this Intro to Scrum series. Now you're familiar with the basics of what Scrum is, why so many teams use it, and how it works, including the ceremonies, roles, and artifacts.
Okay, so that seems to be the outro here. Yeah, hopefully the additional commentary provided some clarification. If you'd like a little bit more background, I invite you to visit the official Scrum Guide at scrumguides.org. And if you'd like some tips on strong Scrum practice, take a look at my YouTube series called Power of 3 that I'll make a card to so you have easy access to it. So if you found this additional information useful and the clarification here, please feel free to recognize that with a like. If you'd like to get updated on future videos, please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Any questions or remarks for additional videos, feel free to post them in the comments down below. That's it for today, for this video. Thank you very much for your time and all the best for the practice with your team. See you in the next video. Thanks and bye-bye.